just in the larva stage alone, there's 5 instars. So an instar is the actual molting of these exoskeleton as the larva grows.
You're going to have to be able to get another product that to do the same function or similar function so that you can keep growing in line with your values with microbiology. So anyone that doesn't know, poly means many and saccharides is sugars, right? So many sugars. And that's what we're looking at.
So as I was digging in my research, chitosan has found to be a really good chelator, especially with metals and other things. So as that plant's immune system is turning on and being activated by the chitin, the chitosan, these bugs and these pests' ability to penetrate the plant just becomes really hard.
As we dive in more and more to all of these products, I realize how much people still do not know about our biology. What the Frass? You're here with Dave Hansen and Mark Boutwell on Perfect Gardens TV. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Also check us out on Facebook, our Instagram, and if you haven't hit the notification, please make sure to do so. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Make sure to check out our monthly membership. For as little as $2.99 a month, you get access now to 105 members, 2,586 photos, 274 videos, 21 files, 1,106 shared links, and much, much more. So Dave, Insect Frass, the 311 from Down to Earth, please tell us all about it. I mean, this was incredibly interesting conversation with Adam, which we're going to have a couple snippets at the end. But Dave, please.
Definitely. We're going into part 6, the power of Insect Frass. This is one of those guys. Continue your research. Science is still discovering. They're doing, research and why Insect Frass and what it contains in it is so powerful. So let's dive into it. So what is Insect Frass made of? So the down-to-earth Insect Frass is made up of the exoskeletons and the feces of the black soldier fly. And the reason that they're using the black soldier fly, as you can see from these pictures, they go through a lot of food process. They get their insect frass from sustainable farming, and they use food waste that would normally go to the dump. So we're recycling what could go to the dump into turning it into something that we can use for our plants. So the larvae consume the organic matter. Then this creates the feces that are rich in micronutrients, and then it goes through a processing phase where it's screened, heat treated, and then ground up. So you have the exoskeletons and also the feces of the black soldier fly. So if we dive into the black soldier fly, we can see that they lay anywhere from 300 to 600 eggs, and then it goes into the larva stage. And just in the larva stage alone, there's 5 instars. So an instar is the actual molting of these exoskeleton as the larva grows. And then they'll go into its pupal stage, which there is a 6th instar, and then back to its pupal to becoming an adult to laying other eggs.
I know what you guys are probably thinking. Like, these little bugs look like maggots. We're used to keeping all of our plants clean and our grow room clean. And we've switched from soil to soilless medias because we want everything sterile. So more often than not, Insect Frass is definitely one of those products that once you become familiar with what it is, initially it might turn you off. But you got to think about it. Does bat guano turn you off? Right? Does crab meal turn you off? These products come from natural environments that do very specific things that react to your plant because they've been designed to work together. And so I just want you guys to know that as we go into the future and other products begin to you won't be able to get hold of these products like crab meal or maybe kelp might be unavailable for a little bit. You're going to have to be able to get another product that to do the same function or similar function so that you can keep growing in line with your values with microbiology.
Yeah, good point. And they also use soldier flies too, because unlike our housefly, like these are nectar eating, they're actually considered pollinators, so they won't harm your plants as well. If you wanted to compost, let's say, and start something like this, like start your own black soldier fly compost and start putting your food scraps and stuff like that, you don't need to worry about an adverse effect of them getting out and eating your plants. So food for thought. So what is chitin? We talk about it a lot. It's in the industry a lot. People are talking about its benefits. So let's dive into it. It's the second most abundant polymer next to cellulose. So it says a lot. So nature builds up all these different ways to keep structure. We can see the cellulose diagram right here. It's lots of chains all connected together, and these chains could be broken and things could be added to them and changed. So chitin is a polymer which is composed of modified glucose monomers. Both chitin and chitosan are natural polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are the most abundant carbohydrate found in the food, whose molecules consist of a number of sugar molecules bonded together.
So guys, I always kind of like to help everyone understand a little bit of language. So anyone that doesn't know, poly means many and saccharides is sugars, right? So many sugars. And that's what we're looking at, is just many sugar molecules bonded together. And that's what chitin is.
Chitin is also present in fungus, in the fungal cell walls. This is what makes up the structure of the fungi. And as we stated, exoskeletons of arthropods and insects. These chitin fragments could be recognized as a stress signal by the plant cells and inflict defense reactions. So this is where we talk about chitin kind of being a biostimulant, and also in the pest control. Now, these manufacturers, they're not going to label it as an insecticide because they can't do that. But science shows that there's these secondary metabolism responses that the plant has when chitin is in present of the plant. So if we're talking about chitin, we got to go into chitosan. So chitosan comes from the enzymes breaking down chitin, and this can be done by man and or natural processes. So no matter what, chitin is going to be broken down by nature and be recycled and reused. But there are processes where man, typical, take a high pH alkaline product and you end up with something left over after that process. But in this case, this is just the pure insect frass. So nature is going to be breaking this down. So this is what research has shown chitosan to do. And this is why I say continue your research and studies and publish papers, because there are a lot of studies on all spectrums of pest resistance, fungicides, bacteria, and we're going to go through some of these right now. So it's shown to increase photosynthesis, and I kind of questioned this. I was reading how it could increase photosynthesis, and I was like, but why? So as I was digging in my research, chitosan has found to be a really good chelator, especially with metals and other things. So if it's chelating and bringing up other things with it, then it makes sense that the plant's more efficient and it could photosynthesize that much more. One study I was reading about green peppers, and they found that it actually helped decrease the transportation and helps strengthen and support the stenoma opening and closing. So going into the stenoma, remember these are the little mouths underneath the leaves that are opening and closing, allowing moisture to come out, or vice versa, closing to keep the moisture in. One study I read found that it increased and helped with the frost resistance. So they had, I think it was beets or something, and a lot of leaves were still affected, but the part that had the chitosan on it was way less affected by that frost. The pictures were pretty impressive, and increases the systemic response for pest control. And I think a lot of our viewers are going to really like this, because we're naturally bringing in products into our house, like different types of soils and stuff that are potentially, root gnats, spider mites and stuff like this, that, we're trying to do the right thing. And then at the same time, we're potentially introducing something else that we have to counter to create that healthy plant. So as that plant's immune system is turning on and being activated by the chitin, the chitosan, these bugs and these pests' ability to penetrate the plant just becomes really hard.
Very interesting on that one.
Yeah, it really is. It's shown to help kill bad fungi. And what science is showing is that the chitosan is actually connects with the fungal receptors on the leaf. So it actually is like tricking the plant to think that it has a fungus that is on its leaf. So it starts amping up its natural immunity, creating pretty much like its own fungicide. Same thing with bacteria and viral infections, and it helps soils from leaching. And it goes back to me. I was like, okay, why is it preventing it from leaching? Because of the physical matter. But then I was remembering that it's really good at chelating, so it's going to hold on to those other minerals as well. Quick graph right here. You guys can read right here. It says right here, soil improve improve soil properties, prevent nutrient leaching, increase crop yields and quality. So this is all stuff that scientists are looking at, observing, testing, and trying to find these mechanisms and why the plant's responding the way it does.
As we dive in more and more to all of these products, I realize how much people still do not know about our biology. Even down to theory is still theoretical. It's like they're theorizing on the stars and they're theorizing in our biology and our soil. It's insane. Yeah. We're still guessing.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I say we have to all continue our own research, read articles, and share it with the communities, because it's changing. The more and more people are going to be starting to use products like this with chitin and chitosan, more questions come up to surface and more tests need to be performed. But there's a lot of people willing to do that. So this is kind of the flow of chitin. And what I'm finding is that chitin, it needs to be broken down for these systemic secondary metabolites and stuff to be activated in the plant. So chitin is abundant. Remember, it's the second most abundant polymer in the earth. And then that gets turned into chitosan, and then chitolytic organisms, bacteria, microbes that can eat this. Once again, scientists are trying to find, like, there's specific ones that we know, but we're trying to find different ones that we can also produce in mass to help with this process. And then it goes into chitosase, and then that's when the plant can uptake that. So when the plant is uptaking the chitosase, it's activating those systemic responses to the plant. It has an abundance of this material in it. And it's like, what is going on? Is this bugs? What is going on? So it starts amping up all of these different secondary metabolisms, just creating a very, very healthy plant.
You know, when we were talking to Adam a little earlier, just describing, it might just sound obvious to everyone, but for me, it didn't sound it. It was a small aha moment, right? You have the endo and exto fungi. And like you said, the chitin makes up the cellular walls of the fungus, and bacteria is on everything, that like Adam kind of just pointed out. And so you have this fungi that's growing on the outside of the roots, but also the ones that penetrate the cell roots, right? The endos. Yep. And just like getting a splinter for ourselves, right? It's the same in my mind. It's the same situation. It's like they penetrate those roots. It creates trauma, which introduces parasitic forms of some level, and then the plant creates its own with its own immune system. Basically, does what it needs to do.
Yeah. Well, there's studies I was watching too. They sprayed chitosan on, and like 2 days later they came out. This is a big agricultural field, and like all the grasshoppers were dead, and they couldn't figure out why. They're like, well, is it because of the chitosan? They're like, well, did the chitosan, was it the plant's response, or because they couldn't eat, they all died? Like, there's a lot of things that we're still learning about it, but we know that it amps up its metabolism and so much more.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it really was. All right, so we're going into the guaranteed analyst and application rates. So it is a 3-1-1, 3% nitrogen, 1% of that being water soluble, 2 insoluble, and 1% available phosphate, and 1% potash. So drive, once we said, insect Frass. Applications, 1 to 2 tablespoons per gallon of soil, mixed thoroughly. You can also pre-amend it if you would like to as well, until the chitin gets broken down, and those components that we showed in the earlier slide. We don't know when it's going to be available. So when is that chitin is going to activate in the plant's response? So maybe get it in there ahead of time, especially if you have soils that you found fungus gnats and you're like, what do I do now? This might be a way to help you.
I think that was a great point right there. Just bring up again is, if recycling your soil, if you had fungus gnats, don't just throw away your soil, just amend it and keep going with it. Don't throw your money away. I know that might sound totally crazy, but I think it's definitely worth, if you're out there and you have a lot of soil, it might be a couple hundreds or a couple $1,000s in it, do a test. Just get a couple plants, put it to the side, amend it, and see if you have fungus gnats the next time around.
Yeah.
Dave, thank you so much for this presentation, man. Every single time I jump on a call with you, I learn so much from all your research.
It is a byproduct of the black soldier fly larva industry, which is primarily grown for feed and pet food markets. They take out, omegas and protein and oils. And this is just the waste product. It's the poop, and it is the exoskeletons of the different instars of the larva as they grow. So and then it is dried and shipped out. But this would otherwise just be a waste of protein generation. Historically, the house I'm at right now, I don't have one, but historically, I would walk out there and I would hear
right.
and I'd look in there, and the whole top is just writhing. It's incredible. And this is soft information because it's been a while since I read it, but what they've shown is that food material processed by black soldier fly larvae tends to have lower incidence of E. coli and other pathogens. They go through things incredibly quickly. Someone who I work with, her partner was the compost specialist for the city, and they were testing black soldier fly larvae at home, and one of their chickens died. And they were like, well, let's just toss it in. And so they tossed the whole chicken into the pile, and like a day later, there was no more chicken.
That's amazing.
A's is usually the sign of the sign of like a digestive enzyme or something. It's something that breaks something down.
Right.
Like I think there's glutenase is an enzyme that breaks down gluten, for example. But
so you're saying that it would go to chitin and then to the chitinolus organism,
Chitin
and then that one, and then the last one is the chitinsane.
That is potential. I would need to check into that. It may be that chitinase breaks down both forms, starts the initial breakdown and then the further breakdown as well.
Right.
And that would be, bacteria and fungi that break down chitin. Plants have developed a reaction to finding chitin in their environment, and the reason they did that is because they learned that it's a sign of being attacked. And so, what is the exact mechanism by which they sense it? Does it happen when the fungus penetrates the root? Or does it happen when they just find one of these secondary byproducts like chitosan in the environment? That would be my guess, is that they have some sort of receptor that understands what chitosan is and finds it. And so, yes, it's very possible. And this is all I'm going to say, is it's very possible. And I think it's still being determined that, things, they're either sensing it directly or they're sensing it because of something like you said, that some sort of bacteria or other organism that eats the chitin is breaking it down, and they're sensing the exudates from it. But, you look online and you see studies about this.
The chitin is the cellular structure of the fungus, and it attaches itself or penetrates the root system. Then in a sense, chitin is in the root system now, like a parasite, in a sense, because it's like you getting a splinter, right? And pus creates an inflammation to try to get it out of your skin. And it's really just kind of had a ha-ha moment right there.
Yeah. And what we're unclear of is, and maybe it's both, is does the plant sense it because it got the splinter and its tissue is like, hey, it's there? Or does the plant like smell it, outside of its, we just don't, there may be information out there, but if you look up studies on chitin effects on plants, they just roll. There's a lot of them.
To me, the best way of describing a biostimulant is to move it away from calling it a fertilizer, because in large practice, you are using minute amounts of this product and seeing a larger response.